Welcome to a new Daily Top Askreddit video. Today's topic:
what has been the most badass shit done by real people in history? Leonid Rogozov had to perform an appendectomy on himself while overwintering in the Antarctic. In a similar vein, Inés Ramirez Perez performed a cesarean section on herself. She wasn't a doctor or a surgeon, she was a rural Mexican woman with no medical training. Ramirez cut herself open, pulled her baby out of her own uterus, passed out, then regained consciousness and bandaged herself. The nearest hospital was 8 hours away and she'd been in labor for 12, so she was desperate. Both of them survived. Holy shit, that's wild. C-sections used to kill people pretty much every time before modern medicine. That's so brutal and amazing that they both survived. Napoleon Bonaparte coming back from Elba, meeting up with the 5th Regiment of Infantry, sent from Paris to kill him. Steps off his horse with no weapon, walks towards the regiment and shouts, "Soldiers, recognize your emperor. If any of you wants to kill me, here I am." Quote, the soldiers drop their weapons and send their hats flying, shouting, "Glory to the emperor." Quote, this has got to be the most insane natural 20 on a charisma check in history. Imagine being the guy who sent them and then hearing what actually happened, lol. If it was me, I'm taking a bunch of gold, riches, whatever and leaving the country, lol. Pretty epic time altogether. One of Napoleon's marshals, Michel Ney's, supposed last words before being executed for siding with Napoleon: "Soldiers, when I give the command to fire, fire straight at my heart. Wait for the order. It will be my last to you. I protest against my condemnation. I have fought 100 battles for France, and not one against her. Soldiers, fire." Damn, those are some pretty intense words. Even in the end, he was still a general. British pilot in World War I was flying a scouting mission when he was attacked by 7 German planes. On the first pass, his leg was blown off by the German planes, but he managed to move the plane so his rear gunner could fire on the German fighters. They managed to drive off all 7. The pilot managed to land the plane despite rapidly losing blood and insisted that he delivered his reconnaissance report before receiving medical attention. His back gunner had no idea he'd lost his leg until they landed. The pilot won the Victoria Cross for his actions. Edit, the pilot's name was Ferdinand West, he survived the war and lived until 1988. Adrian Carton de Wyatt also received the Victoria Cross. Served in the Boer War, WW1 and WW2. Got shot in the face, head, stomach, ankle, leg, hip and ear. He was blinded in his left eye, survived 2 plane crashes, tunneled out of a prisoner of war camp and tore off his own fingers when a doctor refused to amputate them. Describing his experiences in WW1 he wrote, "Frankly, I had enjoyed the war. At what point do you think, damn, God really wants me gone?" The list of those that earned a Victoria Cross is full of incredible grit, determination, and bravery. One, for instance, was Major Robert Kane. He and his men were cornered for days, but he never gave up protecting them and their position. That included charging German tank battalions on foot, firing a mortar launcher horizontally at the tanks, after running out of ammo for his Piat gun. Edit, okay, I get it, I messed up by mixing up his using a Piat gun and firing a mortar launcher horizontally. Later in life his daughter married Jeremy Clarkson. Witold Pilecki. His mission at Auschwitz is one of the most extraordinary acts of bravery in World War II history. In 1940, Pilecki, a member of the Polish resistance, volunteered to infiltrate Auschwitz by allowing himself to be captured during a Nazi roundup in Warsaw. Under the alias Thomas Serafiński, he endured brutal conditions and unimaginable horrors upon his arrival at the camp. Once inside, Pilecki organized a clandestine resistance network called the Union of Military Organization, ZOW. He meticulously documented the daily atrocities, including the mass executions and the inhumane living conditions. His reports, smuggled out through couriers, were among the first comprehensive accounts of the Holocaust to reach the Western Allies and the Polish government in exile, providing critical intelligence and calling for action. After nearly 3 years of enduring and documenting the camp's horrors, Pilecki realized that an internal uprising was impossible without external support. In April 1943, he orchestrated a daring escape with 2 fellow inmates. Despite the constant threat of capture, he made his way back to Warsaw, where he continued his resistance activities. Pilecki's detailed reports on Auschwitz were instrumental in informing the world about the genocide occurring within its barbed wire fences, making his mission one of the most significant acts of resistance during the war. Volunteered to infiltrate Auschwitz by allowing himself to be captured during a Nazi roundup in Warsaw. I think it's worth noting, he was trying to get into Auschwitz. He could have been sent anywhere. He lucked out. After the war, the Soviets executed him for colluding with the Western Allies and the Polish government in exile. I lucked out. They're sending me to Auschwitz. Quote, Edit, I confused some things with another great-grandfather and a great-grandmother. Just ask my mother for the correct stories since she worked to record Holocaust survivors. Apparently it was the other one who lost the leg, for example. Also, he doesn't mention it here, but he did tell me personally that yes, indeed, he did shove it. Here's the video interview with this one though, https://vimeo.com/224219791. Don't want to look like a liar, so I'm keeping the text. Also, book, https://fobedu.cl/products/copia-de-libro-memoria-viva. That's an insane story, damn. Here's another one. My great-grandfather was sent to a concentration camp, managed to escape, got captured, sent to Siberia, freed by the Allies, went to Palestine, decided the place was too horrible to live, before Israel's independence and all the land the Zionist movement bought it was full of swamps and desert, decided to go to Russia to join the Communist Party, didn't know what would happen, got sent to war, survived, went back to Palestine, kind of hated the British mandate, went to Central Europe, worked his life off, lost a leg in a factory, got married, gave my great-grandmother a ring that was from his own mother and managed to get it by shoving it up his ass during the worst moments, and headed off to Argentina, and then Chile. After all that, he went through the dictatorship, got tortured by Pinochet's forces and survived. He lived up to 102 years, and while he lived in Chile, he led every Passover Seder up until he was 101, with a terrible European Hebrew accent. His father was a rabbi and taught him Judaism. He passed away 10 years ago. He's kind of a mental fortress, .. Dang, if I didn't hear no bell, was a person. Miriam Rodriguez Martinez. Her daughter was kidnapped and murdered by the Mexican cartel. The police didn't lift a finger to help, so she tracked down and arrested 10 cartel members herself. She knew it would result in her death. She did it anyway. I don't care if they kill me, Rodriguez told a friend, according to the New York Times. I died the day they killed my daughter. I want to end this. I'm going to take out the people who hurt my daughter and they can do whatever they want to me. Sadly, her words proved prophetic as she was murdered by the cartel on the 10th of May 2017, which is Mother's Day in Mexico. Was it coincidence that it was Mother's Day, or did the cartel just have a really sick sense of humor? Probably the latter. Cartels are mostly fucking animals, man. Look up Joe Medicine Crow. He was the last war chief of the Crow tribe and the last Plains Indian war chief. During World War II, Joe Medicine Crow completed all 4 tasks required to become a war chief: touching an enemy without killing him, counting coup, taking an enemy's weapon, leading a successful war party, and stealing an enemy's horse. https://en.wikipedia.org/wiki/Joe_Medicine_Crow. And the only reason his nephew didn't succeed him as a war chief is because elephants don't count as horses. The nephew also completed all of the tasks except for stealing a horse, due to the fact that horses were not used by the Viet Cong, so he stole a pair of elephants instead. Edit, I managed to track down an accounting of Joe Medicine Crow successfully stealing the horses, which includes a short statement from Carson Walks Over Ice, the nephew, about the elephants. https://www.americanindianmagazine.org/story/art-capturing-horses. Edit 2, of course my most upvoted comment is about the Vietnam War. I don't even know that much about it. That reasoning for not letting him succeed his uncle is a load of horse shit. Dr. Medicine Crow also earned a PhD in history and wrote a fantastic archive of the Battle of the Greasy Grass, Little Bighorn. To date it is the most expansive and detailed account of the battle, and even clears up some of the myths of the battle, like the Crow Scouts running away, when in truth the Scouts donned the traditional outfits and Custer threw a hissy fit when they were out of uniform and sent him away, thus depriving his army of the scouts they needed. Tank Man, the Chinese protester that stood before a column of tanks. This is one of the single most resonating video footage for me over the years. How many times have we all felt that we are helpless and too small as one individual to do anything against the machine? Tank Man had enough and took a stand. I hope someday we are able to learn his name. He wasn't even planning on doing anything. The man was carrying groceries and simply saw what was happening and was like, fuck that. I used to socialize with a number of grad students from China. 100% of them thought he was in the wrong. Our views and their views were completely opposite. Everyone should see the full video. He stops the tank multiple times, climbs on top of it and chats with one of the tankers, stops the tank again after climbing down and does not leave until some bystanders drag him away. We never found out who the Tank Man was and if the people who dragged him away were undercover police officers or just ordinary people. https://youtube.be/qq8z50g ? C equals par5n4v_er5y00-0. Teddy Roosevelt getting shot and then going up on stage and finishing the speech anyway. It takes more than that to kill a bull moose. A bullet can't stop the bull moose. Basically everything Teddy Roosevelt did was awesome. Police commissioner, cowboy, assistant secretary of the Navy, governor of New York, vice president, president, fucking Medal of Honor recipient. Dude broke monopolies, regulated railroads, and established what is now the FDA. Dug the fucking Panama Canal. Sent the Great White Fleet, arguably establishing the US as a world power. Went on an expedition to the Amazon. Went on a surprisingly benevolent expedition to Africa and sent animals to the Smithsonian for taxidermy. Many people had never seen lions or other animals native to the region. All this after being diagnosed with asthma as a kid, being told to live an easy life, saying fuck it, and living life at full fucking speed. I have so much respect for TR, and he's the person I would want to meet if I could meet anyone in history. He also has one of the saddest stories, as his wife and mother died on the same day. He wrote in his diary, "The light has gone out of my life. I call my wife that, the light of my life." Death had to take him sleeping, for if he had been awake there would have been a fight. A journalist. And creating the foundation for the national park system and conserving wild lands.